unfortunately, for some people in our community, and I say that, no disparaging to those folks that come from different communities, but in our community, in terms of people of color, we have this relationship, unfortunately, with the police, because that stems from years and years and years of issues going on in our community and so forth. So there's a different relationship with African Americans, myself being one, that I've been stopped by the police and have been harassed and all those sort of things. So it's not everybody, Ron, and you know, you say the state police, it's state police, it's the local police, it could be, if you're not around here, it could be a sheriff, you know, there is this us against them mentality. We have to start changing their training. You got to be cautious as a police officer. You got to protect and serve. When you're stopping somebody, you don't know who's behind that wheel. And it could be some crazed loon. But for the most part, most of my stops that I would say is a grandmother, a brother, a friend, an uncle, somebody that I know. And I say that not because I actually really know them. It's because when you meet them and you actually, you know, have an interaction and so forth, hey, they're rushing off to work. Hey, I forgot my license. You know, I don't have enough money to pay for my insurance. You know, all of these sort of things that happen to us in daily lives and so forth. So I think it's training, Ron.
So what do we do? Okay, training is one component. What do we do to build that relationship between black and blue in particular? Because you made reference to communities of color, you know, people of color, African Americans, and clearly there is some tension.
There's a lot of tension.
I know for a fact, even with me, I mean, if it wasn't for you and Larry Ellison from Mamley and others that I'm familiar with and have a relationship with, I would be kind of distant towards police because what I've read, what I've seen, what I've experienced. And for our listeners out there, I want to start to reduce that gap that's there. You know, how do we do that, Mark? I mean, how do we build that relationship? How do we, you know, decrease that gap that's not so small? You know,
so
how do we get there?
So this is what I would suggest. Here in the town of Milton, we're fortunate. Okay, we're fortunate because, as you met the new chief of police, his name is John King. I think John is a forward thinker.
And I do want to meet with him more to kind of follow up what we met about, because I think that was a great start.
So John's a forward thinker. I've known John since he's been a cadet. He works hard, he's very diligent, but he's an open-minded person. And I would characterize his thinking in terms of saying that his police department and the policies that he's going to enforce for the town of Milton represents the openness. Now, not all police departments have been that. And you know, in Milton, we didn't always have that openness, you know, because you've mentioned this before on the program, back in the 90s, Milton was targeted as the #1 most high-profile town in Massachusetts out of 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. So we had a major problem in terms of stopping and profiling, specifically black males and African Americans and so forth. I think we've come a long way, Ron. But I think when we talk about, say, a larger police department, like the Boston Police Department, I think what there needs to be a sit down, because there is a problem. And it has to be recognized first. I think if you don't look within first, it can't be fixed. There truly has been a track record and a history of things that have been going on in terms of people being stopped and frisked, in terms of identifying people who are not a threat, people being stopped and harassed, and that comes from all ages and so forth. How do you stop that, Ron? Having conversations. Calling your city council person, calling your elected official, actually thinking about changing policies, seeing how you can have events where you can actually bring these two together. Because you know something, Ron? You and I know there's some good guys and good gals that we know on both ends in terms of police officers and so forth. But you know, there's still this mentality, us against them. And we have to understand that, look, there are criminals out there that we know that need to be locked up. So we want the police to do their job. but we don't want them to violate everybody's rights in the process to get that person.
Exactly.
Okay?
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. I think that there needs to be more communication, but we have to hold our elected officials much more accountable.
Right. And in behavioral change, behavior change. Let me give you this example.
Yeah.
I was walking up Blue Hill Avenue, and there was a Milton police officer. You know, the crossing guard, I guess, wasn't there. When the crossing guards for the young people are not there, the Milton police are there.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, when I see them, I'm like, okay, I take a deep breath, and I was walking, and I was gonna walk straight. I said, you know what? I'm just gonna see if he's gonna stop, you know, for the pedestrian. And in my mind, I'm thinking negative. I'm thinking negative, and that's from my bias and from my experience. So, I walked to the crossing guard, and the police officer walked out, right? He held up the stop. No, he didn't stop. He held the traffic up, because the crossing guards hold the stop signs up. They stopped the traffic. He's like, how you doing? And it was like, wow.
Surprise.
Very much surprised.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was like, it broke that ice of that feeling, and I think we need to do that. That was one time.
Yep.
There was another black female Milton police officer. She's always speaking, and that makes a difference. I remember when I was a kid, we had Officer Joe, and he used to hang out with us, play ball with us, and it makes it that much different from the negative perceptions you see on TV about police, and or it may not be so, may be true or not, but that community policing needs to come back. I mean, that's so important, because building that relationship, getting to know your local police officers, because when something happens, then it's much easier to report it to someone that you have a relationship, as opposed to reporting to somebody who think you're just policing you or harassing you or racial profiling you. And I do want to commend the Milton police officers, because I have seen a difference in the behaviors, the presence, you know, they wave. I don't know if it's just because they know who I am. Thank you, Milton TV Access, you know, but you know what I mean? But it's a better feeling. And if I feel this way, a well-established African-American male, professional, that in the community, how do these other folks feel? I mean, that's not so high profile, and I just want to be able to help with that, and I know you're a key person that can really bring about that radical change on the blue side, black side, or any side in reference to our city and town.
So Ron, you know, and then the other thing too is we have to start teaching our kids, kids of color, not that all cops are bad. Okay. And we have to stop conditioning. Parents have to stop conditioning when they have their children small, because this would happen to me, and this goes across all cultures. It doesn't have nothing to do with color. All cultures, that, you know, the mother would come up and say, you know, I'm going to speak to the police and so forth, and you know, he's gonna teach you a lesson and so forth. And I said, ma'am, please don't do that. I don't want them to be afraid of the police, because now you're already putting that in their head. Okay, and so I think on both ends, Ron, sometimes when there's a group of us, we tend to think groupthink sometimes. And I've seen this, that, you know, there's a mentality, I'm with a group, I can act and behave the way that I want to behave and so forth. And, you know, sometimes you have got to understand, you know, put it on the police end. Like, how am I going to deal with this particular group? All right? And they're saying, if I am of a different color and so forth, oh, am I being racially profiled? No. Sometimes you're not being racially profiled. Maybe it's because you're being disorderly. Do you understand? And so there has to be, we have to be real with each side, okay, in that sense, Ron. And you're right. Now, if in fact, when I was a police officer and I was working with a lot of the kids, oh, that's Officer Conrad, I know who he is. Hey, Joe, hey, can you ask your friends, can you just move on the side of the street? Opposed to, you know, here it is, the police are coming, they're bothering us, harassing us. No, hey, I'm just asking you because you know what, we're getting complaints. The only reason why I'm actually here is because I actually got a complaint.
Because they know you.